Hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. We're going to see if we can scare up a few more people from the ice cream eaters. But I wanted to start on time because we have a lovely guest today. And so I want to introduce you to Kaitlyn Murray, who is Mary Jo's niece. And this is sponsored by your sustainability committee. And Kaitlyn is a perfect speaker, and I'm just going to give a little introduction. So she started a woman-owned upcycled clothing company called La Vie Après l'Amour. As you know, it stands for life after love. And Kaitlyn's website tells us that the fashion industry is the second leading polluter in the world. It uses natural resources to grow and produce fabrics. It uses energy and water to create the garment. And it transports and packages the product to get it to the final store. And after all of that, 84% of the clothing ends up in a landfill. So Kaitlyn Après l'Amour company focuses on keeping clothes out of landfill and keeping you chic at the same time. Her company gives each piece of clothing a new life after being loved. Each is secondhand, upcycled, mended, and reimagined, as you will see. So Kaitlyn will tell us her journey today. Style has been her creative outlet since high school when she started to upcycle her own clothes. So she started her career as a merchandiser for a luxury fashion house. So she traveled to Paris for work and for pleasure, and there she became inspired by the effortless, chic Parisian mentality of less is more. So it was natural, I think, for Kaitlyn to name her company a French name. And so Kaitlyn was going to tell us more about your amour. Okay, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Joy. Actually, I think I'm just going to hold this. So good afternoon, everyone. I am Kaitlyn Murray, as Joy introduced me as. I am the founder and the CEO of La Vie Après l'Amour and Hudson Valley Sustainable Fashion Week, which we will talk about more in a little bit. But first, we will start from the beginning. I was born in 1990 in Red Hook, New York. I'm sure you can do the math. I studied at FIT in 2009, where I studied fashion merchandising. I had known kind of going into school that I wanted to one day have my own brand and one day open my own store, and merchandising, buying and planning is really the central part of the business. And so I wanted to study that because when you're in merchandising, you have hands in design, in production, in PR, with your visual teams. You really are in like the epicenter of everything that was going on. So I studied merchandising. I graduated in 2013 and I got a job working for Hermes, and I started working for them on the internet team. And at that point, the internet team, I think we had like 6 people in 2013. And I moved over to merchandising about a year in and just started kind of from the bottom. I was a merch coordinator and I helped supporting the entire team. And then I continued to grow and I took on different departments, different métiers as they call them. So I was in charge of the home department, the equestrian department. I had my hand in the wholesale account. So I kind of helped with the whole scope of the business on the wholesale side as well. There was always something in me that wanted to create a company that was better for the environment. And so Après was something that was in the back of my mind, but I knew I needed to work for a company. I knew I needed to gain experience before I could start my own business, because nobody tells you what it's like starting your own business. And I'm much better at learning as I do than learning in a textbook. So around 2017, I started to get a little bit more serious about doing upcycling or creating goods, or I kept getting more frustrated about how brands weren't doing much about the waste that was going on in the industry. Working for a luxury company, of course, it's a lot smaller scale, but there's still waste. This doesn't happen anymore, but at the time, there was still goods at the end of season that were being burnt, that were beautiful textiles, beautiful goods. And that's just what didn't sell. that doesn't account for what people buy, and then they eventually either resell or donate or what have you. So there was something kind of gnawing me. 2020 hit, and we saw the pandemic. Everything shut down, production shut down. There was an area in India where factories had stopped completely, and the air cleared for the first time in 30 years. There was canals that opened up because there wasn't ships coming through delivering goods. And within a month, our world started to repair itself. And I kind of, I guess as most people did, took a look at my life and was like, okay, what do I really want? So I started embarking and really developing Après in 2020. 2021, I took it full time. And I'm back in Red Hook now. I was in the city for a while. And so 2021, I took it full time. I decided to do pop-up events all over the area. I really wanted to focus on hyper local selling. And 2022 full year, I survived doing Après by myself. It's been a slow operation, and I'll take you through a bit of the journey. And here we are, 2023. We are about to have our freestanding store, hopefully. I am waiting on a final version of a lease in Kingston, New York, which is very exciting. And I'll get more into that later. So my time at Hermes, it was an 8-year stint. What better place to learn at than the top luxury house in the world? What I learned and what I loved about Hermes is their iconic marketing and how they project their goods and how they present themselves to the world. A lot of their marketing wasn't about like, you would never get an email that was like buy one, get one or 50% off. Like it was never about price. It was never about buying. It was just about creating. There was an entire magazine called Le Monde Hermes, which means the world of Hermes. And it was all centered around the products of the year, whether we bought them or not. And being in merchandising, there was always that, like, you're promoting this product that nobody bought in the US. So you're going to put it out there and nobody's going to be able to buy it. But there was this beautiful mix of like the creative teams were able to create freely. And us merchandising teams were working with what we had to sell and to create, to hit budgets. So it was a wonderful time. I learned so much. I was able to go to many places across the US to help with store openings, they did run public sales. So I would help with public sales. I was in Chicago. I was in Houston, Dallas. I did a pop-up in Austin. There's me we did like a silk dyeing event on a little cart in Austin by South by Southwest. So all of my experiences there have definitely just enhanced where I'm at today. So Après, so these are the campaigns that I've run. Everything that I've done has been self-produced, and most of them I'm in them, or family or friends. So I've really tried to kind of create, the biggest thing that I wanted when creating La Vie Après l'Amour was making secondhand and vintage clothes desirable. A lot of the times people don't love thrifting. People don't love going to thrift stores. There can be weird smells. You have to sift through it. You feel dirty after. And so I wanted to kind of create this like very clean, very fresh vision. And that's kind of what I wanted to come across as well in my marketing and the events that I did. So this is our mission. The heart behind our company is to divert clothing and textiles from landfill and create a collection using a cyclical production cycle. The fashion industry is the second leading polluter in the world, using natural resources to grow and produce fabrics, energy, and water to create the garment, and transportation and packaging to get the product to the final store. After all of that, 84% of clothing will end up in a landfill. We don't think clothing are trash, and we want to rethink how we fill our closets and earth. As Joy mentioned before, she grabbed that from my website. We are driven by nature, inspired by Paris, and handmade in the Hudson Valley. Landfills. So why are landfills bad? In 2018, this is a graph from the EPA. 11.3 million tons of textiles went into landfill in the US alone. That number has doubled since 2020, and that is a number that's a yearly number. So that number continues to increase year over year. That doesn't account for the rest of the world. And that also doesn't account for if you see the photo on the top is a image from a beach in Chile. There's a desert there that has become this kind of like, you can actually see it. I just saw the most recent articles. You can see an image from a satellite. This desert has just become a dumping zone for clothes, for cast-offs. And then on the bottom, this is an image from a beach in Ghana, which is another dumping zone. So the clothes going into landfills aren't even capturing the clothes that are being sent overseas. And the irony is a lot of our clothes now are made overseas. And so they're making our clothes, they're sending them to the greater West. The West is consuming and discarding them faster than we can breathe. And then they're sending them back to where they're created to fill up their, just be trash and fill up their streets. And landfills, when the clothes go into landfills, so a lot of our clothes are made of synthetic fibers now. And so polyester takes an average of 200 years to break down. So will not break down in our lifetimes. And when they do, when the synthetics do break down, they cause methane to release into the air because they get, when it's released into the landfill itself, methane is released out of that fill because it's mixed with all other trash and garbage, and it's the most potent gas that's being leaked. There's also leachate, which is a kind of like nasty substance that comes out of when the clothes are being broken down and mixed with everything else that's in a landfill, and that seeps into water. Those waterways are usually, it's hard to kind of stop water because it's deep in the ground. And that ends up getting into drinking water. Most of the time, landfills are in areas that are more impoverished. So this also creates asthma in those areas. And there's also a bit of social injustice because the landfills are directly impacting the communities who live there. Now, the other issue that I find terrifying is water. So the amount of water that we use to create a garment. So it, on average, it takes about 2,700 liters of water to make one cotton t-shirt. That is about what the average person drinks in 2.5 years. However, by 2025, the World Wildlife Foundation estimates that 2/3 of the world's population will not have access to clean drinking water. And those 2/3 of the world's population are most of the ones making our clothes. And I just want to show a short clip from a documentary called River Blue, kind of about the underbelly. Make sure. So that was a documentary that came out in 2016. Again, all around it's mostly around denim. That's why it's called River Blue, because denim is like the leader of using the most water. And denim is also so harmful with all the chemicals, like as you saw in those rivers. So these are things that have been happening and happening and happening. And kind of what the one guy said in there, sorry, exit these out. What one of the men said in the video is like, we don't know about this because that's not good marketing. That's not a good sales point. You're not going to show this picture and be like, buy this shirt because this kid made it. That's not really encouraging. So what do we do? Is there hope? Is there a solution? I believe there is. We have so many clothes on this planet that we can work with. And so our key elements are, and what kind of grounds us is nature, community, local, timeless, wearable, and chic. These are what I have based my company around. This is our process. It is a circular business model. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation created this term or this definition of a circular economy, and it says the circular economy is a systems solution framework that tackles global challenges like climate change, biodiversity loss, waste, and pollution. It is based on 3 principles: driven by design, eliminate waste and pollution, circulate products and materials at their highest value, and regenerate nature. So these are all the kind of things that I am trying to do in terms of clothes. This can be used in any industry and is trying to be used in any industry. So with our process, we take thrifted or donated goods. We wash everything that comes into us. We cut them, we resew, reimagine them, embroider them, sell them, mend them, and do it all again, take back and recycle them. So I work a lot with the men's button down. So this was one of my first styles. This was a men's button down that I've cut the collar off and made it into a more feminine off the shoulder look. The one pictured there is the crop. The girls love the crops. And so I simply took a button down and cropped it. And this is my bestseller. It's not complicated. It's nothing. I'm not a designer. I'll be the first to tell you that. I'm more of a visionary, a creative director. But it sells, and it's something where it's like, we have so many button downs. We don't need to be producing something and then cropping it. And, like, let's just take what we already have and reimagine it. So these are our one shirt 5 ways. So I'm starting with one shirt. There's so much that we can be doing with upcycling. So the men's button down. So we have the everyday button down, the crop button down. The bottom of the crop is made into a tank top, the off the shoulder, and the dress. So I have one of each here just to give you a visual. And they're all completely, this is just a regular button down that's been embroidered. Nothing else has been altered. I cut the collar, but I make sure it's clean, it's pressed, it's presented well. I think most of what people look for is presentation. This is our dress. So the shirt has been cut and a panel has been added in the in-between. So probably the top of this shirt was also a crop. So I try to use every piece that I can into them. The off the shoulder I showed you, the croppy I showed you. Then sometimes we have some fun. This was an old curtain, and we made it into a tube top. I'm wearing her today. She has straps. I called her a curtain for your boobs. Just super simple, super fun. Why not have fun with it? But, someone got rid of these curtains and I thought it would make a cute top. So there's so much to be done. But when creating a company, creating a whole brand, you need to make sure you have brand identity. And so that's why I've started with the men's button down, because for me, it was really easy to manipulate. It's very easy to style. I think styling things in many different ways is important too. To me, versatility is sustainability. So I don't want to create a super trendy, really hot item that can be worn once. I want you to grab your après shirt every time you go to your closet because it's your favorite shirt. So I also have the cozy collection. So the cozy collection is cozy, truly goods that can be worn every day. Again, we have a cropped for the girls, standard sweatshirt for anyone. And the other thing about it is most people can wear my goods. This is just a regular cotton tee that's been embroidered. Any of the backing and the braiding I use the inside of collars. When I cut the collars off, there's usually an interfacing on the inside. So I take that and use it as backing. They're little details. Only I know this, but at least I'm doing what I can. Yeah, again, another cropped sweater, and then our varsity with the patches on it. So these are just very, like I said, cozy, wearable, easy. They're all secondhand, but most of them, if there's something that's like really horrible condition, we don't use. But for the most part, there's amazing clothes out there that don't need anything other than an embroider. And sometimes I think this one had a little hole in it. Yeah. So I just did a small embroidered little, not even a design, just a little embroidered patch over it. Oh, this one, I forgot I was doing. This one was a work in progress, and I brought this one because the sleeves had some schmutzes on them. And so I started to embroider hearts around them, you can see. So just kind of, it takes time. It's time consuming. But I'm also trying to go against we need more now. Like this is supposed to be a slow process. And I started hosting mending nights in Kingston at Cowork Kingston. And it's been really wonderful to see people kind of come together, mending their own stuff. So many people have never touched a needle or threaded a needle before. I'm sure a lot of you have, but a lot of people on my demographic have not, and they love it. And there's something very therapeutic about it and about sitting there together. And then how I coin it is like you have your favorite shirt, you have your favorite pair of pants. Every time you go to grab it, you're like, shoot, it's missing a button and you don't have time, and you throw it in the bin to be repaired and you're never going to repair it. And so come to my space, let's repair it together. There's always snacks, there's always wine. And it's a good time. I also sell vintage. So some goods are just good as is. And in creating a brand, I like to create a full outfit, right? So if I'm wearing something like all three of them are a full outfit. So there's one of the varsity sweaters with a blazer, some vintage denim with cardigan and a trench, the sweatshirt. I have an embroidered sweatshirt on under the leather blazer. I want to create a whole kind of capsule and wardrobe, and a lot of the goods that are vintage are still good. And so I don't need to recreate them anymore. So that's another section of what I do. My campaigns that I've run. So I just wanted to give you a feel for what I've done and how I've done them. Again, it's been very grassroots. The very first campaign was May of 2020. We were in my parents' backyard. We were all not sure what was going on in the world, and my cousin came over with her camera and we set up a little picnic in the backyard, and we just started shooting and started playing, and they've kind of evolved and changed. And my brother helped me with a shoot because a lot of the goods men can wear, I just don't have a male model right now. So I was like, hey, little brother, can you come help me? So he was able to put some on. We did a fun basketball shoot. And then I've been able to like create more of a community and find more friends around me in upstate, because I was in the city for 11 years after school. So I've been recently back to the area. So it's been super fun to kind of create these campaigns and create this brand, honestly. One of my favorite activations I've done so far was my après-été. This was a dinner I did last year in my parents' backyard, where I wanted to bring a bit of the south of France to the Hudson Valley. Obviously, I have strong ties to France. And like I said, one of my pillars is community. And so it was just my friends who I invited. I cooked and prepared the whole meal. One of my other friends helped me. I asked all of them to either wear après, or I had après for them to wear. And we got beautiful content, and we just had a wonderful evening of connection and community with no expectations, with no, you need to buy this, or like, it was more so just to kind of create this space to be, because I think that's very important. Eating together, drinking together, I think is such an important thing for the brand, beyond selling clothes. And I'm kind of at odds with myself because we don't really need to be buying any more clothes, but we have a ton of clothes on this earth. So I'm trying to create the best solution. But sometimes I feel like I'm almost at war with myself, because you have to market, you have to sell, you have to create, but you also, because I need to live, and I need to create a business. But on the other hand, I'm like, don't buy this, you shouldn't buy that. Look at all the waste. So it's tough. So I want to create moments like this where it's not about selling, it's just about creating a beautiful scene. The clothes are there, but it's not the focal point. The other activation I did, which was for selling, which was I had a studio last summer for 6 months in Hudson, New York. And so I had invited, again, everyone, the whole network that I knew. I set up my studio as if it was a shop, but it was truly a studio space. And I had friends and people come by to shop in my space. And this is all leading to this last March, I helped to open a store in Catskill, New York called Made X Hudson. And so they are a small batch manufacturer in Catskill, and they were opening a store. And I know the founder just through a business network that I've been introduced to up here. And they asked me if I would help them open their store. So on March 31st, we had a large store opening. So Opry is in here along with other goods, local designers. Made X Hudson has their own private line, which was a huge, huge step for me and a really big partnership. So Opry has been selling in there. It's been nice to see it in a store space. And yeah, it was just a great opportunity. So what is next? Like I mentioned to you, we are opening our Opry Maison in Kingston, New York. This photo was from actually a pop-up I did at Brunette in Kingston last summer. And the whole goal behind my kind of maison, my home, is to have a full space where I can have the studio space where we can create, retail space where we can sell, a cafe space where people can come and work and hang out and, collaborate, art space, mending nights there. Clothing swaps are a big thing that I do too. So I kind of want to have like a community clothing rack where people can kind of constantly swap in and out. So that is where we're at. This is real time. This is happening hopefully this week. Thank you. So it's very exciting. A lot of work. I am still a one-woman show, so things take time. But on top of that, I decided to plan Hudson Valley Sustainable Fashion Week this year because I thought one thing wasn't enough. But as I started going on this journey, I've realized that there's so many other amazing creatives doing what I'm doing. And like I said, there's so much to do with upcycling that is not necessarily my style or my expertise, but there's so many out there that are doing it. So I want to amplify those designers as well. So our mission is we aim to mend the relationship between fashion and nature. We want to inspire individuals and the industry to reimagine and reuse materials in fresh and innovative ways by highlighting designers in the Hudson Valley adopting these practices. So it's going to be a collective show. It's going to take place in Red Hook, New York, on a farm, Rose Hill Farm. And we are going to showcase 10 different designers, so 10 different upcycle designers, and they're going to have 5 looks apiece. And this is, again, coming from the fashion industry and having this upbringing in upstate New York, I have my foot in both lanes. I see Fashion Week and I'm like, there's so much beauty behind it. Fashion makes you feel a type of way. The outfit that you wear makes you feel a type of way. We all make, consciously or unconsciously, we make decisions when we get dressed and it makes us feel a certain way. And there's so much of fashion and style that I absolutely love, but there's also so much of it that is obviously damaging, not just for the planet, but also it can be really catty. There can be a lot of exclusion in the industry. And I just wanted to kind of create something that was for the community, by the community, and that really can blend like high fashion, very good taste with nature and that kind of like low keyness that is the Hudson Valley. So that is it. That is what I'm up to. And kind of my journey of how I got there. Would love to take any questions that y'all have for me or comments. Yeah. No. I prefer a raw edge. She asked that why I don't hem the bottom of my anything that's cut. And I said, because I prefer a raw edge. So machine embroidery. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I did hand embroidery on a pair of denim once, and that was the last time I did that, because in order to make it, in order to make money, and to make it worth it, and to like build, because the other point that I didn't mention are my price points. But I want my price points to be attainable. And in order to be attainable, I need to make it make sense for the time put into it and for what you're getting. So the crop button down goes for 55. The off the shoulders 85. The dress is 125. So I really tried to make them very fair pricing versus the work that goes into them. If I was to hand stitch every single one of them, they would have to be $300 because I'd be sitting there stitching for 3 hours. So it's just not worth it.
Want me to circulate a mic for people?
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. Another question?
Questions? There are so many people here who don't know what to do with the clothes that are filling their closets that they can't use anymore. I sent some to a reservation in South Dakota. Other people go to Family of New Paltz or Salvation Army. Do you have any additional suggestions?
It's funny you mentioned that, because I do. Well, so I also take donations. And so Joy had mentioned if you all wanted, I could come back in July, and I would be happy to take donations for you. July 19th was the day. If I don't use them personally for my collection, then I volunteer at 2 different thrift stores. The Red Hook, they're on my side of the river. So the Red Hook thrift store and then the Second Show up in Hudson are both wonderful community-driven thrift stores. And yeah.
I just want to say that Yakov has a whole system here at Woodland Pond, but I thought that we could share the goods. And so I haven't discussed it with our group yet. So it's not fully approved yet by our committee, but we scheduled from 12 to 1:30 impact right here on the 19th of July. So we'll more of that later, but I thought we'd take advantage of that.
Any stipulations on the type of donations you would like?
I'll take anything. And I just say, if I don't use them, then I will make sure, I'll make sure they won't go into landfill to the best of my ability. Yeah. I think there's one in the back.
Very exciting idea and very innovative. We have been dealing with this. Just to probably put I would say the perspective. I learned how to sewing from my grandmother. She was a mistress, a seamstress. I'm still not a mistress. Sorry, my English is my third language, so you have to skip those. But she lived with us, and I used to sneak as a child in using her sewing machine when she was not watching. But I didn't pursue that as a career. But I'm a physicist, and I learned a lot about systems. And obviously, the system that we have right now, it's very wasteful. And that's where, the thing about reusing things is so important, because everything that we see here, what you deal, what you get, has a lot of effort invested in materials, manpower, and resources and energy. So I think this is something that we in the Sustainability Committee have been dealing for quite a while. And we had an initiative about that, basically what you mentioned, that people move, try to get rid of things. And we have a patrol, basically, that we are doing it, competing with you, getting your materials and your job. So as a matter of fact, I think some of those hangers are from one of those operations that I understand that you got today to hang your clothing there. And we go as far as reusing the hangers and, you name it.
Yeah, actually, these hangers were donated to me, so there's
Today.
more than enough to go around. So you're not taking anything from me. We can share. But thank you. There's a couple up front, John.
I just had an idea. I have lots of clothes on one section in my closet that need mending, and somehow I keep putting it off and putting it off. And I wonder if we should start a mending group here. I mean, I think if we sat and did it like a quilting bee or something, we would have company and maybe would have a little wine and cheese and sit and mend our clothes. And we have several women here who are really handy with the needle, and Jakov too, probably, who could guide us how to put a patch on or hem something or take out a zipper. I think it would be really interesting to start such a group. I don't know if anybody else feels that, but maybe once a month we'd get together in the classroom or something with refreshments in the evening after dinner and bring our own clothes, and the people who have the expertise would help us.
Hi there. I am just wondering what your focus is in terms of selling. These look pretty very large age range and sex as well. But
Like my demographic, you mean?
yeah, demographic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So who's your clientele?
My clientele, my target is millennials and older Gen Zers, going up to probably age 45, 50, but I don't love to put an age on it because, like you said, it is really fluid. So my marketing targets more millennials just because that's who I have access to. And those are the resources that I have. And that's how I can get the word out on social media. And that's who's like consuming it. But when at markets and when, like anyone's coming by my booth, it's really whoever. I have a range. It's a range of ages and a range. I would love to target more men, like I was saying. And I think men are wonderful to sell to because they see what they like and they buy it, and it's so easy. Whereas women gotta like text their friends or get an opinion. And I just feel like there's a very untapped market of clothes for men. So I want to get more. I want to do more with like the straight button down for men as I move forward. So
Great, thank you. And just one more question in terms of seasonal. I think I saw in one of your shots there, I had some winter, heavier clothing, and I'm just wondering,
here, yeah. This was a fall.
I know
So this
that
was
one
my
too.
fall winter
Yes.
presentation.
That looks interesting. Yeah, how do you get stuff for that?
You kind of house them until it's the season appropriate. So
Right,
I
of
have
course.
a bag of things from like that I've gathered that's appropriate for summer that are just coming out now.
Right.
So you kind of have to have to create a collection, you got to collect a bit, which is why I need more space because I've been working out of a home studio.
Sure, of course.
So yeah, it's kind of holding on to things and keeping them organized in a way where and then something else start. Like I'll get one red thing and then I'll get another and then it'll kind of start to form. And then when I'm out sourcing, I'll look for something specifically red or black or something that would go with what I already have.
So you're saying you go out and find things. You go
Yeah.
to shop and you shop in
Thrifting.
Thrifting, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
Does that include vintage?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there was.
Kaitlyn, will you tell us what you have on? Just describe what you have on.
Oh, sure. I'm wearing Birkenstock sandals because I live in them in the summer. A wrap skirt, and I'm trying to think of where I got it. It was definitely secondhand. It might have been from a clothing swap. This is my curtain for your boobs top. So it's nice and open in the back. And this denim jacket I actually thrifted in Paris. Oh, sure. You're welcome. Question. Is there someone in the back?
Ah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
got another-
It's not open yet, but the goal, it's the space I'm hopefully signing a lease on this week is on a Beale Street on the Rondout. Yeah, it's perfect. So cross your fingers for me. All goes well. Any other questions or comments? Yeah. Currently none. A team of one.
You're it, right?
2 interns right now who are very helpful, and I had an intern last summer, but I've been doing this all on my own while I can. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Doing it all, making the dream a reality.
Sure.
Anything else?
Do you deal in, oh, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. What about accessories and, shoes, bags, scarves, jewelry, all that
I
stuff?
have dabbled,
But not yet.
but not fully. Like
Yeah.
I'll sell some vintage handbags that I find that are like go with the whole vibe, honestly, and something that like I think will fit in with the opera girl. And with shoes, I had a friend painting shoes for me that looked super cool. And so I want to kind of continue on doing things like that. Jewelry, I worked at a bead store back in the day. And so I've started taking like vintage pearls and jewels and restringing them and making simple necklaces.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And scarves, I've made a couple scarves last summer into tops. And then if they're really damaged, I'll make them into straps. So, because a lot of like good silk scarves make really nice straps. That if they have, there's one that had like a ton of like smudges and stains on them. Because a lot of what I get are damaged in one way or another. So I kind of have to rethink what I do with it.
So does that mean that you do not work consignment?
No.
No. Okay, that's fine. Just a question.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Oh, another question.
Yeah.
I was thinking about your price points and you're dealing with millennials. And if I understood you to say a crop top, would it be about 85,
55 for the crop top.
55 for the crop top? Are you finding that the population you're serving, millennials or Gen Z or Gen X, whatever, they have the budget for that?
Yes.
Yeah, they do, huh?
Millennials, oh, yes. Young Gen Zers, no.
No. But
Millennials are my age group. We're in our 30s. Most of us have a good career, minus myself because I'm scraping to get by. But it's the same price as Zara. Like Zara had a crop top that was 55. And there's also this kind of like contemporary price point where people are like, there's Costs is a big, I don't know, they're like owned by the H&M group, but like they're really big for like the millennial, very simple shapes, bodies. They're more expensive than I. So out of the market research that I've done, I fall right in line. And out of what I've seen and what people have been buying, there's no hesitancy.
So I just was curious as a show of hands, who could come with some clothes on the July 19th?
Oh,
Oh, great.
I gotta
Okay.
order a U-Haul.
So we're going to get it approved by our SusCom committee and you'll, I was wondering a show of hands of who would actually come with their gently used clothes to donate to Kaitlyn. And so, yeah.
You could do a swap. It's a bit more to set up, but we could do a swap.
you'd be interested in us, we could do a swap side and a donation side or something. We're getting creative. I mean, we need to have it approved by our SusCom committee first, right?
But yeah, I love clothing swaps, and that I think that's such a great way to like, especially with you all here. I always say like, the most sustainable piece of clothing is already in your closet or your neighbor's closet. So, could be a fun way to refresh your goods.
It's Wednesday. It's that's a separate thing. That's a good question. I scheduled a separate time because I didn't know what we were doing on the Tuesday the 18th. SusCom has another program that we're taking over for the Land Conservation Committee. And so they've given us their time on the 18th, which is the same time as we're doing today, but a month from now. So we can either use that time or we're thinking of a presentation. It's really up to the steering committee of our sustainability committee. You need more men to, more men to donate, you're saying. We'll be writing about it in the Chanticleer. We'll let people know, but you got us stirred up and
I know.
thinking,
I
and
love
so
that. Mending clothing swaps. Yeah.
and so maybe the age group, wear après and look like a millennial.
Yes, I can.
Right. So it can be any age, listen. So no more questions. We're all good. So Kaitlyn, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks again.